This is the bird I feed every morning. He's one of my babies. Every morning when I get up, it's a ritual. I feed the birds. And the reason why I do is because, to be honest with you, they're my only friends. In Dearborn, I used to feed the raccoons. And I just woke up. Oh, I always look like a wreck and sound like a wreck when I first wake up. But, I gotta say one thing about this expedition that's been going on towards me ever since it's been happening towards me openly. Is that, hang on a second. Is that, there is healing in nature. And I make this particular video blog, in dedication to the hundreds and possibly even thousands of children that were deliberately and intentionally, with complete malice aforethought, falsely and deliberately misdiagnosed with epilepsy at Oakwood Hospital in Dearborn, Michigan, and as a result, I think he was the director of pediatrics, deliberately and intentionally had implants put in their heads, and he got caught. And so they all the parents got together and filed a class action lawsuit through the Benner Law Firm. Now, Oakwood Hospital is the same exact hospital they shipped me to in the same calendar years he was doing this to these children, and his name was on my Medicare summaries. Now, what they do in reference to how they're implanting people against their knowledge, non-consensually, against their will and without their knowledge, is what they're doing is I was duped to go into Oakwood Hospital through a person who had entered my life who was involved in organized stalking, and I did not know it. And I didn't even know what organized stalking or gang stalking was back then. And I did not even have a clue that these people were connected to doctors and hospitals. Now, you can go to Google and type in a gang stalking tech, everything you need to know. And I know I'm getting away from the birdies and the raccoons, but I'm trying to make a point here. And I'll get back to them in a second. But, see, what they did was they had already initiated the the electronic harassment which they transmit from a remote distance. They were using that on Stedman and Appeline in Dearborn, beginning in late 2001, 2002. And, the weirdest thing, and I know this is going to probably sound nuts or crazy, but intuitionally, because I had already taken electronics, in school, and through numerous years, and I also studied the brain extensively. And I'm just going to give you a tidbit in reference to that. See, when I took electronics, I learned series circuits, parallel circuits, combination circuits, Wheatstone bridge circuits, and a bunch of other different types of circuits. And so when you're working with circuits and trying to solve the equations of them as far as power, current, watts, and let's see, there's power, current, I already forgot, volts and watts. Then you're trying to, then what you do is you actually look at an actual schematic, an actual circuit, in reference to figuring out the power, current, watts, and volts through each resistor or capacitor or any other type of electronic device that's within the circuit. So you got to take each circuit and literally figure out those four aspects of current flow in reference to what type of current and voltage comes out of each device that's within the circuit. So the point I'm trying to make is that I have pretty good extensive knowledge in reference to working with schematics, and so these are pictorial representations of electrical schematics when you're working with an actual schematic that's on paper. And I have ADHD. I think I'm not hyper. Trust me, I'm one of the most mellowest persons you can know. I'm not impulsive. But I still do have ADD. I'm more like an ADD now. But the point I'm trying to make here is this, is that after taking electronics for many years, and and then trying to go to school and remember things when you're right-brained and when you have dyslexia and auditorial dyslexia. Trying to remember things that the teacher's telling you is difficult, because when you're right-brained, you think in pictures. And the book, The Gift of Dyslexia, can brief people on that. Excuse me, factual reality, factual reality, and so when I was going to school and I realized I was having a hard time remembering what the teacher would say, I started buying micro cassette recorders so I could tape the class sessions and stuff like that. But then I still noticed that I had a hard time making sense of it, and that was because there's certain words that you can't formulate into pictures. So what I started doing then was I started using schematics to and then use electrons to put the words inside the little circles that you had the pictorial representation that are electrons. So my brain could see a better picture of the word and hold it in the memory better until it could make sense of the actual word. And I know this probably sounds a little bit difficult, but if you look at a couple books that I'm going to tell you the title of right now, one is called Think Fast, Right Brain Children and Left Brain World, The Gift of Dyslexia, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. So the point I'm trying to make is that I studied the brain extensively, and I'm not just talking about these few books, I'm talking about extensively, so I could develop effective strategy, so I could develop strategies to effectively deal with my learning disabilities in school, because they were affecting my grades and well, obviously my homework and my work, and then my grades got affected as a result. So between understanding and taking electronics, multiple drafting classes, including 1,000 hours of computer-aided drafting, and electronics over many years, from 1988 all the way up to 2004. I took it on multiple occasions throughout those calendar years. I was able to see how the brain works, because the brain is nothing but electrical chemical, and neural pathways are nothing but neural circuits. In fact, they got a building over at UCSD that says neural circuits building. And the point I'm trying to make here is this: is that these people entered my life in Dearborn through casual appearing means, and then they were attached to a self-help group. And I didn't even need that, in hindsight, looking back now, in relation to how they operated and how they infiltrated my life. See, two sets of people infiltrated my life, and they infiltrated my life both in Dearborn. One lived in Redford, though, and got me to move out to Redford. And they were going to be used for ping-ponging purposes, in reference to how they were stimulating an obsessive-compulsive behavior, and then getting me to run to the Redford ones to depend on them to survive that's those situations when I needed help, and eventually for verbal and mental abuse, and then to use the other ones for supposedly for guidance, but they were actually used for nothing but for distraction away from my own thinking. And this self-help group would teach you to not rely on your own thinking at all. They brainwashed you to believe that your thinking was totally 100% wrong, and their whole goal was to distract you in mindless, endless meetings that would brainwash you along these lines. And this was done so no new neural pathways would develop in the newcomers that would come to the meetings and get sucked in and believe that they got to keep coming. And this whole goal for these types of self-help group was nothing but to literally keep you distracted from your own thinking, while they were using remote neural monitoring to stimulate the obsessive-compulsive behavior, to keep you trapped in the obsessive-compulsive behavior because they were making money off it. My name is Lefty Williams. They were directly connected to organized crime, and these self-help groups are directly connected to the state. Understand this and be clear. They know I know it. And a lot of the people that go to these meetings are being distracted from their own thinking, so no new neural pathways and strategies can be developed by their own thinking to effectively deal with the actual disorder. Yeah, and the reason why they're doing that is because they don't want no new neural pathways competing with the pathways that have already been developed, so they can stimulate those neural pathways with remote neural monitoring to keep them active in the obsessive compulsive behaviors, and because that's where they're making the money. Okay, And so basically, what it is it's nothing but people attending these groups and acting like old timers who have successfully defeated the obsessive compulsive behavior. And what they do is they're nothing but directly attached to organized crime. It's the whole purpose of why they're there, is to suck newcomers in, to brainwash them, to abandon their own thinking. So the ones they're connected to from behind the scenes can use remote neural monitoring to stimulate those obsessive compulsive behaviors, because that's where they make the money. And then all of them who play a role in it get a cut. And when they seen that I was defeating this obsessive compulsive behavior by myself, they started abusing me directly. And so I left the group entirely, and that's when they moved in the apartment below mine and initiated electronic harassment. And that's right before I left them. The ones that I was still talking to duped me into taking out some school loans. She's gonna say, "Oh my God." Anyways, and then they had me trapped in 2 apartments in Dearborn, stimulating this obsessive compulsive behavior using remote neural monitoring and using the school loans only in part to fund it. And I literally had to escape the whole situation. They killed my cat. They entered my apartment, killed my cat. They entered my apartment and moved things around. They entered my apartment and took doorknobs, took the screws out of doorknobs, so when I would come home and turn the knob, it would fall out. They entered my home and changed and moved my clothing around, including my undergarments. They entered my home and stole things from one apartment, and then I moved. In fact, I moved out of state and then moved back, rented another apartment, and they would replace what they stole in the previous apartment before I even left the state that I was renting in. And this is literally what they did, in part, in Dearborn. And getting back to the Oakwood Hospital, so after I left that second apartment, they would appear along my path. And what they were doing was using acquaintances, and they were actually, even before I even left them for good, they were throughout this whole expedition of me going to the self-help group, they brainwashed you to run to specific people that they put in your life and behave as your teacher. I'm going to put it to you that way, okay? And what they do is brainwash you to get you to think that if you're ever having problems with your obsessive compulsive behavior, call your teacher, or run to your teacher, or run to one of the group meetings. Okay, well, these are all neural pathways. They identified and marked those as well and kept stimulating those to keep me running back to them, even after I discovered that some of their behavior was possibly attached to the criminal behavior that was happening towards me in the apartments. But you see, I didn't know anything about organized stalking, electronic harassment, gang stalking, and remote neural monitoring until late 2010 and early 2011. So I still didn't have a name to describe what they were doing to me. So here I am thinking that I'm just having a problem, and all the thought processes that I was having, that they were literally stimulating, okay, and the obsessive compulsive behaviors that they were literally stimulating from behind the scenes. I didn't know that they were the ones who were stimulating these neural pathways. So I had no reason to believe that they were responsible for this aspect of what was happening to me. And so they also created neural pathways of getting me to run to them when things got desperate. Okay, yeah, that was the whole cultivation. These people did nothing but cultivate and cultivate and reinforce different types of neural pathways that they could use to take advantage, to control me, literally, to control me, to make money off me, and to keep me involved in the relationships with them, in order to be able to keep me distracted from my own thinking, so they can continue to keep stimulating the other neural pathways when I got paid to make money off me. This is literally what they were doing. And then they tried to literally cultivate neural pathways for prostitution. And that's when I got the hell out of there. My name is, by literally to my face, deliberately and directly telling me I could get with this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy at the actual meetings before I left. And then having these men walk up to me after I would walk up to them and say, "Hey, how you doing?" Because they were people that I already met before and talked to at meetings before and everything. And so they were softly and casually, through creative dialogue, trying to get me attached to them, but underlying the dialogue with the meaning of, you know what this is about. And when a woman is traumatized like you would not believe, victimized like you would not believe, broke at times, and homeless as a result of them getting landlords on board to deliberately create the homelessness. While all this is going on through avenues you can't explain yet, you feel vulnerable. And since you don't know about their entire scope of the whole situation, about how they're involved and how they're directly involved with the technology that they're literally using towards you, you don't have a full picture of how much they're involved yet. So you still got that little bit of trust left while they're still stimulating the neural pathways to run to them. Because when they stimulate these old created neural pathways and they're brought back into current consciousness, all the beliefs are re-believed. All the thoughts are reprocessed. All the actions are reprocessed. So you don't have a clue, that you're being stimulated, and everything that's being brought back into current consciousness is the old thinking that had all the old beliefs. This person's okay. I've been able to depend on them before. When I meet with them, nothing bad happens, and all of that thinking and beliefs and hopes is brought back into current consciousness. That's why remote neural monitoring, remote neural stimulating, and remote neural influencing is so powerful, because it overrides all other conscious deliberations, even after you've experienced bad experiences with these people, whether they be mild, extremely intermittent, or not. You don't have any other conscious deliberations to scrutinize or even remember any bad experiences you've had with these people, because it's all brought back into current consciousness, and it literally crowds out all other conscious deliberations or all other evoked potentials that you're trying to scrutinize in these situations that are very desperate for you. And I'm going to tell you something right now. These people are it's organized crime within the system, and they're directly connected to social services workers too, who are conveniently keeping your food stamp cards away from you and your food stamp benefits away from you through creative means. My name is Leslie Williams. So it got to a point to where I just decided to go hiking, and leave these people all together, and they seen that I wasn't running to them at all while I was going to the Benner Law Firm. Because now these statements are in direct reference to once I learned about gang stalking and organized stalking, then once I learned about electronic harassment. I learned about gang stalking in 2009, but I seen what the word electronic harassment in some of the research that I was discovering, but I didn't conceptualize what it was. You got to remember, I'm learning disabled, and plus they were keeping me busy in the current campaign that was going on between 2009 and 2010 at a new apartment, the Monroe apartment. Okay, and so I was dealing with current events, surviving, and dealing with all the expeditions that were going on towards me at that apartment as well. The current expeditions that we're doing, it's keeping my rent, and then saying that they didn't get it, and then sending me eviction notices, and then making me worry for up to 2 weeks concerning that. Just a bunch of crap every single month. So that kept me distracted. So I was literally having to deal with current events that were transpiring every single day on top of what was transpiring at the apartment, which kept me away from thoroughly being able to be attentive to studying all the aspects of what gang stalking is on the internet. So it wasn't until the actual literal month that I left the Monroe apartment, that I discovered what electronic harassment really meant. I thought it was electronic harassment. I thought it was because that's when I started discovering John Hall's videos. I thought electronic harassment meant the cell phone hacking and the compromising your TV that they got the capability to do, and computer problems. Okay, and so in October, I left that apartment in September. I stayed there until early October, but they stole the rent in September, so I just read out the 30 days in reference to what the security deposit would cover, and left in October. And they poisoned me in that apartment. I got electrical. They used, I guess, what is known as a radar gun, and they electrically shocked me in that apartment. They stole stuff in that apartment. They took stuff out of my refrigerator when I wasn't home and threw it all over the floor, and come home and find it. Doors wide open when I came home. I had to file multiple police reports, which were faked by the Dearborn police, who pretty much omitted every complaint that I made about what was happening in that apartment and put things in there that I did not state. And so I finally left that apartment for good in October 2010 because they were sending me eviction notices claiming they never got my rent, even though I mailed them rent, certified mail return receipt, and they decided to let this one ride out because it was getting out of hand for them in reference to me exposing this crime publicly. I was blogging the hell out of it concerning current events. I was going down to WDIV, WXYZ. I just bought a ticket to go to Ann Arbor to go to the ACLU, and I bought that ticket at the Amtrak station, which is 50 feet right smack behind the Dearborn Police Station. And since you're a target of organized stalking, they know where you're going at all times. And so they just deduced what she's going out to Ann Arbor for. They deduced that through the capabilities of remote neural monitoring and through the physical organized stalking. Yeah. And so they seen I bought a ticket to Ann Arbor, and they knew I'd already been to ACLU meetings in Ann Arbor, Michigan before. So they just put it two and two together. They seen I was catching people on digital audio file, admitting what, catching them in flat-out gang stalking tactics that are described all over the internet. They seen that I was filing police reports. They seen I was going down to the newspapers. They seen I was buying tickets to go to the ACLU and contacting Amnesty International. And the only thing they basically did was evict me. My name is Leslie Williams, and by stealing my rent. And so I went camping out, and I made friends again with the raccoons and the birds. And I decided to stay away from these freaks that they were still having the audacity to put along my path to get me re-sucked back into the self-help group. But they knew that I was putting it all together, okay? And so I left that apartment on October 7th, 2010, and went camping. And that month, later on that month, I discovered the microwave auditory effect is what the electronic harassment is. And then, no, wait a minute. On October 7th, I discovered remote neural monitoring at a library that I went to before going to the ACLU meeting. And electronic harassment I was discovering in the same exact time. I'll never forget that date. I discovered electronic harassment on October 7th, 2010. Remote neural monitoring on October 7th, 2010. I discovered electronic harassment in the month of October as well, 2010. And I discovered gang stalking, what that was, as far as having a name for it, on August 9th, 2009. And but you would not believe what I have been through as a result of this criminal expedition. I've been sexually exploited by firemen, who drugged my beverages at a establishment that I went to. I had one beverage and it was drugged, and so I have a feeling I was raped as a result of being knocked out. Sexually exploited by police officers, and sexually exploited by other people in Michigan as a result of this technology. My name is Leslie Williams, and I have undeniable, undisputable proof of what happened to me in Michigan. And the Michigan campaign is directly connected to the California campaign because it's a nationwide syndicate. Go to Google and type in remote neural monitoring. I mean, not remote. Go to Google and type in a gang stalking tech, everything you need to know. It's a manifesto of a manager who directs and manages organized stalking crews along a target's routes. And he literally describes all the aspects of the syndicate, even though some of the descriptions are not real detailed. But he describes enough for you to get a general picture, so then when you go to read targets' blogs and thoroughly research electronic harassment, remote neural monitoring, and organized stalking or gang stalking, when you research the blogs, posts, and extensively, you can then take all the comments of these blogs, posts, and cross-reference them to the manifesto and clearly see what's what and how they operate, flat out in your face. And so I want my fellow citizens to know that I'm a good woman. I don't do drugs, I don't drink, I don't sleep around, I don't steal, I'm not involved in with anybody. They have me totally isolated in this campaign. And I'm going to tell you another thing right now. I started going over to UCSD as a result of what happened at USD 3 hours after it was predicted on video file. So I started going over to UCSD, and they're having me subjected to organized stalking over there as well, using library staff in the biomedical library. They're even gotten to the point now to where they're flagrantly using UCSD bus service drivers, especially one with a ponytail, where they're literally having people, when I arrive at Old Town, arrive at the same time I'm arriving, in reference to walking over to the area that you stand at to wait for their bus to come to pick people up. Yesterday I was gaslighted by one that literally walked by me and gaslighted me. Yeah, with his tongue. And because what they do is sensitize target to specific types of physical gestures or actions. Okay, because this is attached to human trafficking rings, sexual servitude rings, prostitution rings, land co-opting, mortgage co-opting, trust fund liquidation, identity theft, racketeerings of all different kinds of schemes, and human trafficking as well. And when they pick women, okay, they also go after people on disability. I'm a single woman on disability. Do the math. And so what they do was they're having people. They've done this right now about 4 times on their bus service. They get people to arrive at the Old Town to wait for UCSD bus service at the same time I'm arriving. They literally walk up to it or are already there because when I'm arriving, they know I'm going there because I'm literally gaslighted on the trolley going to there, literally. And I've already caught being gaslighted and bothered on trolleys, so I can prove that. That's already on my YouTube videos. And what they're doing is using these people that are literally put at the Old Town Trolley Station to get on the UCSD bus that I get on, so he can engage in what is known as the direct conversation tactics with the bus driver of UCSD's bus. And while I'm on the bus watching the whole thing, because the whole thing's being done, so I'll see it and hear it. They're using physical gestures between each other and direct conversation tactics that they've already got me sensitized to, flat out. And I'm also being subject to organized stalking, gang stalking, physical gestures, sensitization tactics on the buses, on UCSD buses, on MTS buses, on MTS trolley routes, trolley stations, bus routes, bus stations, and by library staff and students over at UCSD and over at SCSU. Alright, I'm a federal and state whistleblower, and so they're basically not doing nothing but putting these people along my path to make me feel threatened and make me feel like I'm going to be attacked again in reference to the behavior they bring about towards me when I get over there, like to Old Town or Hazardton or Trolley Station or at businesses and even along my walking route. And they're nothing but paid dummies that have been put along my route to make me feel like I'm going to be assaulted again. Because the whole goal is to wear a target out mentally, physiologically, psychologically, and emotionally as a result of being subjected to the non-stop physical interactions that the target has with people that approach them in their environment, engage in these organized stalking sensitization tactics of physical gestures, and that's done to make the target identify that this person's been put in their path to do these things towards them to make them feel at least harassed. I gotta go. Excuse me for laying down, but I hurt my back yesterday. My name is Leslie Williams. Because I was pushing a cart and I decided to ride on the back of it, and then the cart went up like this and I went backwards and fell down. And anyways, my name is Leslie Williams. Look at the YouTube video that's in the comments feature of this one, and if it doesn't appear soon, it will eventually. And make sure you pay attention to the YouTube channel MTS Assault. That's my YouTube channel for upcoming videos in reference to what's going on towards me in San Diego, California. If you look in the manifesto, you can clearly see that it states that it's a nationwide syndicate. When a target moves from one state to the next, the syndicate in the state the target's going to is notified by the syndicate in the state the target left from. And that's how they know I'm here in California. And the San Diego police are directly involved in this crime, and so are members of the San Diego District Attorney's Office. And understand this, they are connected to members in Social Services, Social Security, the Prosecutor's Office, the District Attorney's Office. They got judges on their chain. If you look at the manifesto, you can clearly see that. Police officers, firefighters, and they got the power positions to get the business community involved as well. My name is Leslie Williams. I'm in San Diego, California. I'm a target of organized stalking, and I expose these details so people can really understand what's happening towards me in San Diego, and in part what happened to me in Michigan. Make sure you look at the comments feature of this YouTube video for copied and pasted YouTube video titles that you can go to, so you can see some cooperating material in reference to what happened to me in Dearborn. My name is Leslie Williams, San Diego, California, June 29th, 2012.